Q&Asa. Game on daily.
Welcome to the world of Q&Asa. Is my microphone working? Yes, it is. Should have checked these things before I went live, but then should have went live about 12 minutes ago. And I didn't. But I am live now. So how are we all doing? This is a nice, relaxing Q&Asa on a Wednesday where the past, present, and future of gaming all converge, and we can talk about anything and everything that we want to. Gaming with passion. How you doing? Episode 13. Don't be a pirate. Bad for your health. It's not bad for your health, but, you know, support the things that you want to support. Zed, you tried all your password and you can't access your Xbox? Reset your password. Go through your browser. Take all the steps you need to. I hope your account is not doomed and lost forever. And if it is, I hope you haven't got loads of stuff on it. I'm sorry I'm late. I can see there's plenty of people I've been chatting and I haven't been here. I've been absent from the show that I run because I suck ass. Eradication, Dodge tells me that you've made something that I need to go and have a look at. And I said, Dodge, I would love to have a look, but I'm 12 minutes late for Q&Asa, so I'm going to have a look right afterwards. But you've made a thing and I want to see it. Oh, in fact, I could show it. Could I show it now? No, not very easily because it's on Discord, isn't it? You're streaming me in the Arcadia streaming lounge. I mean, that's an option. People can do that. Chronic, have you given up on the VR social streaming in favor of the Discord social streaming for the time being? FTW, are you still playing Dragon's Dogma 2? Are you aiming to finish it? Are you looking to get to the end of that game, or are you just happily exploring? Do you know what we're going to do? I'm going to tell people how this show works because I haven't run it for a couple of weeks and, you know, there's like millions of new people around that don't know what's going on. So it's just a conversation, this show. We talk. I talk to you, you talk to me, you talk to each other. It goes back and forth about games, topics, and whatever else may come along. And that's it. That's what the show is at its core. If that's not good enough, if chatting through the YouTube chat and the Twitch chat is not getting you the attention that you so desperately crave, then you can throw money at the internet to put super chats on, or you can join our Discord, stick yourself in the little waiting room there and come on the show and have a little talk to the world, or you can stick questions in the Q&A box that's not going to appear right now because I'm pretty sure I was driving, but at some point during the show the Q&A box will appear and you can stick questions in there. We'll get to those at the end as well. That's pretty much how it goes. From there, we like to have a little talk about the games and what we've all been playing. I want to know everything that you've been playing. I know that you're playing Dragon's Dogma 2. A lot of you are playing Dragon's Dogma 2. Pete, you're wandering around Dragon's Dogma 2 bemused but very happy, as it seems that anything might happen. That's what I enjoy about it. That and the fact that I can throw everything. I'm not only am I sitting in water, Replicant, but my microphone is partially submerged as well. Yeah, and I know it's not a convincing effect. I'm aware. I could have put more time and more effort into making the water move somewhat differently to what it is, but it's good enough. It's good enough for the show that this is. What am I using as a background? That's for you all to guess, for you all to recognize and identify. And it is a fairly distinct one. I think you will get it fairly soon. Is it distinct? It's distinct to me, but then every question is easy when you know the answer to it. So, we shall see. Lich King? Wait a minute, what are you looking at? It's not God of War. It's definitely not World of Warcraft. It's quite warm, actually. Quite warm, I can assure you. Oh, JJ, you bit the bullet and you started Mass Effect. You're about 10 hours in. Did you go for the Legendary Connections? Legendary Collection, so you're going to go through all 3 games. Mass Effect is one of my like all-time favorites that everybody should play at some point. And I want to play through it again. But they are big games and there's 3 of them in that pack. So, have you played them before or is this your first time? That's like at least like 200 hours of gameplay if I do start it, and I don't know where I'm going to find 200 hours. It's on the list to do one day. Mass 3? No, JJ's starting the Mass Effect trilogy, all of them. You played it before, so I played each of them on their respective releases. Never went back to 3 after they tried to fix the ending. So I've never seen the improved, fleshed out ending that they supposedly added. But also didn't let it haunt me, didn't let it crush the experience that was 3 Mass Effect games that were brilliant. So in my mind, and this isn't supposed to be a topic, but it can be because that's how this show works. In my mind, yeah, it is definitely Final Fantasy Replicant. It's not 14. I wanted 14, but I was too late to sort it all out. In my mind, Mass Effect 1 is Mass Effect 1 my favorite? No, Mass Effect 3 is my favorite despite the ending. Everyone has this conversation like which is best between 1 and 2, and 3 just gets left in the dirt because the ending was bad. But aside from the last 5 minutes, 3 was like spot on, really good. And I don't know. I like all of those. I need to go back to them. Anyone that's not played Mass Effect, you should do. You should do. Whatever kind of game you like, doesn't matter. Forget your own personal taste. Go and play Mass Effect. Landmark game. For me, anyway. Helldivers 2 was fun today with dodge eradication and sidesmoke. Good, Tony. Have the changes that they've added had like an impact for you? Are you noticing things being different to when we played it before? Because I haven't jumped on that for a good couple of weeks. And I've still got I've got community servers for Powerworld and Enshrouded. I need to get on Enshrouded because it looks really good, and Sidesmoke put a bunch of work in to set that up and politely waited for everyone to join him before doing all of the quests, because a lot of the quests are kind of server based. So he's like built us a humble abode, and over time it's probably become an incredibly luxurious abode filled with things to do, because we kept him waiting for so long. So Shady, you agree that 3 was great? It was, and I understand why people come away from it. Like, its lasting impression, the last thing that it does is brutally disappointing. So I totally get why people come away from it and go, brutally disappointing, and that's the lasting memory. But there was so many brilliant hours up to that point. Replicant Final Fantasy 14 has your life. I'm really enjoying 14 as well. The Mass Effect 3 multiplayer was good. I never... See, that's from a bygone era where games had to have a multiplayer. Mass Effect 1 and 2, obviously, they were full-on big RPGs, but 3 came at the point where if you wanted to monetize the tail of a game, you had to include a multiplayer mode. And 3 always, like, it smelt like a horrible cash grab, but you're not the only person that I've seen say that it was actually really good. If you had to liken it to another game, what was it kind of structured like? Stephen, anyone else bail on Baldur's Gate 3? Oh, that's a good point. I finished Baldur's Gate 3 with Isla and with my wife. Fully completed it. Where did we do that? Like, one of them days. Maybe it was at the weekend. Maybe it was Sunday we did that. So you got so far through Act 3, but you're done with it and it got really messy. So I'm not going to give any spoilers away for how the game is structured, but Act 1 is brilliant. Right, I'll talk about the structure, but not the story and the actual specific content. Act 1 is brilliant. You can tell it's been tried and play tested, and everything that you do has like impact on how things play out in that moment and potentially a bit longer as well. And you just feel that there are so many branches intertwined and things that happen in Act 1. And then Act 2 is a whole different thing. Act 2 becomes just a few chunky branches that are relatively straightforward and you can't deviate too far from them. Act 2 was like a weird drop from Act 1. Then Act 3 reintroduces some of the messiness and some of the complexity of the branches, but not as effectively as Act 1 did, like without the subtlety and nuance. And it does definitely get to the point where it starts to feel like, I don't want to explore all of these branches anymore. This might be just because I wanted to kind of free up some time in the schedule. But Act 3, it definitely did start to drag a bit at that point. And overall, I still loved that game. It was brilliant. Pete, the Mass Effect Legendary PC key. So, Pete, Legendary is 1, 2, and 3. But if you've got Game Pass Ultimate, which I assume you do because you're Xbox and PC, like, it is on there. It's on the basic EA Play subscription. So, you don't need to buy a PC key. You can go and play it right now. And Pete, have you never played the Mass Effect games? Darge, thank you for yet another super chat. Do feed your children before you feed my channel, but it is appreciated. Let's try, look high and low, search the sky and see below. Let's try, seize the day and make new friends along the way. Oh, that's nice. So Darge is hopelessly addicted to Dragon Ball and supporting the world of anime fully with his Crunchyroll subscription, watching it the right way. Good job, Darge. You almost missed this. Was it tweeted out? No, Darge, this is a special secretive community show, which I forgot to tweet out. Pete, I can't believe you've never played it at all. It is that good that you definitely have to play it. I know they had to like smooth off some of the edges on 1. Pete. So Tony, you started Mass Effect and you haven't finished it. Oh, you have to. You do have to. Episode 13, I beg your pardon. Gonads the Arcadia, I beg your pardon. You do. You can do £5 a month. You can cancel my Twitch subscription. Look, I can't. I have my stance on piracy and I can't walk it back just because it's a different medium. If you're in a position to pay for art, you should pay for art. If you're not in a position to pay for art and you're stealing it, stop complaining about AI stealing. Hey, yeah, nudge. Good evening, Tom. How's it going? What have you been playing? Everybody tell me what you've been playing. I'm specifically, actually, I really would like to know if anybody has played the Stellar Blade demo. I have the Stellar Blade demo downloaded. I wouldn't typically play a demo, but I have no idea if there is actually a good game in there or not, and I want to find out. I think it's very unlikely that I'm gonna do the whole 70 quid thing for it, but I want to know if it's a good game or a bad game. I do, but you can't get feedback on the game. Nothing wrong with the game. Tony, did you play it? Gaming with Passion, you Stellar Blade, you really like it. It's impossible to get it because the noise, because some obscure right-wing movement have tried to hijack it to, I don't even know what point they think it proves. I don't get the angle, but all of the talk around it is, yeah, it's selling or it's not selling, and I don't understand the noise, but there is so little discussion of how it actually plays. I've seen some people complain that it has like a heavier feel and or some input latency that was unexpected. But this is what I want to know, Gaming with Passion. Like actual people that have played the game, not people that paused it on a ladder to look at the character, but people that actually engage with the game itself as well. You know, you can pause it on a ladder and look at what you want to, that's fine, but I want to know if there is actually a good game. Plus, I don't normally play demos either, but it's more, I avoid demos for games that I want to play. So I didn't play the like the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo because I didn't need to. I was going to get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so the demo is just like detrimental rather than of any benefit to me, so I didn't want to engage with it. But when it's a game where I'm really like, I don't know if I want to play that or not, then a demo will tell me more than any like review would do, really. Iman, yes, we are talking about Stella Yams, but specifically talking about whether it's a good game or not at the moment. We can talk about the other stuff if people want to, what it means to sexualize a character in the way that they so clearly do, and who should or shouldn't be upset by that. But I want to know, like, I want to know where the combat sits. What game does it feel like? Because like, it has a parry system. Is it Sekiro-like, or is it God of War-like, or like what kind of melee combat are we talking about? Is it a Soulsy game? Plus, Jackson, even no spoilers pods sometimes overshare details. Yeah, I'm really particular about spoilers. I will not spoil the original Final Fantasy VII. It's really awkward to talk around. This is like a 20-year-old game or whatever it may be. In fact, I'm probably being generous to myself there. It's probably like 50 years old or something, but it's a really old game that everybody knows the plotline of, and the plotline of the original is relevant to the new ones. But when I'm talking about the new ones, I dance around the plot of the first one as if that's a current spoiler that people shouldn't have. Typically, I don't find it all that difficult to talk about games without spoiling them. I don't think you need to. There's a time and a place for it. If you are very clearly labeling like this is a spoiler cast and we want to discuss plot points of whatever game and event, then by all means. Manuel Baruni Riso, hi. This is potentially the same. I'm confusing myself with names, but welcome as well. So, the constant screaming not put him off of Dragon Ball Z. He's not got to Z yet. He's not got to Z. So the screaming is spoilers. He doesn't know about the screaming. Yeah. So, Tom, you watched DH play last night. DH. I'm hearing Demon Hunter in my head, but that's because I have an MMORPG obsession at the minute. Give me DH. Tell me who that is. Like, I'm going to kick myself when you say it, but I need to know who that is. It looks kind of between Bayonetta and Souls. Does it look like Bayonetta because the combat actually looks like Bayonetta, though? And it's like, would you say it looks like a Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, and 4? Or does it look like Bayonetta because the character has long dark hair? And the mix in general, like Bayonetta is very different to Souls. Does it have iframes? Because I consider two things to be key to what makes a Souls game combat feel like a Souls game, and one of them is the weight of it. Like, they're all slow and deliberate and whatever, but the other one is iframes, which is something that I'm not actually a massive fan of. Their signature from in all of those games, but the ability to roll through an attack if you time it right isn't intuitive to me. You get used to it when you play them, you train yourselves into doing it, but I find it weird, and I prefer to actually clear an attack rather than roll through an attack in my melee games where possible. And that's not to put down the likes of Elden Ring, because I loved playing that, but the iframe roll is not a thing that I'm glad has propagated to so many other games. Does this thing that we're talking about, the boobs and ass game, does it have iframes on its dodging? Are you invincible if you time the dodge right? Or is it more parry focused? I get more on board with the parry focus, I think. This is why I need to like play this demo. The reason I haven't played the demo is because the PlayStation 5 doesn't quick resume, and I've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the go, and the save resume system is quite simple on that game, but nonetheless, the fact that it's there and suspended is just enough to stop me trying a different game until I've finished. IGN apparently saying the CEO hasn't been in a relationship with a woman. He's been happily married for 10 years. So this was IGN France said some stuff. But I find, so there is that. Like, there are people that are looking at I guess we'll talk about it a little bit. There are people that are looking around the character and going like, oh, this is entirely designed for the male gaze and it's terrible and all the rest of it. I've seen very little of that compared to the number of people that are waving it as some kind of victory flag. And I don't understand those people either. I don't understand either side of this little argument. Really. I mean, like, I do. I just don't think either side is particularly grasping what's happening and what significance there is or isn't. So it has a parry and a perfect dodge. Apparently you can spend currency to increase the windows for both. Don't tell me that, Tom. That's not true, is it? You're winding me up. Surely the currency is just for like ever more revealing costumes, not gameplay advantages. Parry's fun. I like a good weighty parry. So long as what games have a good parry system? I don't know, because I've not really done Sekiro. I need to. Sekiro is high on my list to get to. I like parries when one, probably the window is fairly generous, like being nice to myself. Parries feel good when they work and they don't feel good when they fail. So probably a nice generous parry window would get me on board. But also I don't like weirdly telegraphed moves where like the enemy will draw up for a big swing and then they'll start to drop it and then they'll randomly freeze for half a second just to throw off your parry timing and then drop the weapon. Right? Stuff that's deliberately obtuse like that makes parrying less fun to me. I actually really like the parrying in this is going to sound stupid because it is stupid, but I really like the parrying in Rise Son of Rome, the shield block. It was overly effective. The window of opportunity to parry and interrupt an attack with the shield in Rise Son of Rome was so generous, but it felt fun to do. It felt heavy and thunk, parry, I win, bastard, thunk. I liked that. So, it seems to be a mix between Souls and DMC. I'm gonna have to play this demo. It could be something that I enjoy. Having said that, as someone who, like I just said, I haven't done Sekiro yet. So, what's it called? Stellar Blade. It has to be behind Sekiro in the queue, right? Especially when it costs 70 quid and I've already got Sekiro installed, ready to go. The ass is a bonus. It's not real sterling currency, like level up skill things. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind leveling up to get a more generous parry window or whatever. There's like really disingenuous comparisons between the Fable protagonist and the Stellar Blade protagonist. And it's just odd. Like, I wouldn't want the Stellar Blade protagonist in Fable. That would be well out of place. And I wouldn't want, I can't remember her name, something Nichols. Lily Nichols, is it? The actor that's been captured for the Fable character. People around the internet like to show off her glamour shot, like proper professional portrait photo, and say, oh, she's so pretty and she doesn't look so pretty in Fable. What? Weird ass people. Like, the Fable character looks like a Fable character, which is what I want from a Fable character. Not a model's glamour shot. What are you even talking about? That would just be weird. Oh well. It is an overreaction on both sides, but I don't get why people are holding up Stellar Blade and saying, take that, people that want diversity in games, tits and ass, win the day. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Where is this argument even coming from? Are you suggesting that the success of this game... What? I can't even articulate your own argument because it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what they're saying. Iman, if you were the model, you would be mad how they made your model uglier. You would sue. I would take the paycheck and be like, thank you. You'd settle for simply not being purposefully ugly. Yeah, but it's always the same exact still frame screenshot of the character as well. Always the same, like, half weird expression on the face. I always see the same thing shared around. It's like, whatever. It's weird. I have no problem with Stellar Blade's character looking the way that she does, no more so than any other character that's like supposed to be better than perfect. Like you play Final Fantasy VII, right? All of the characters in there are like inhumanly gorgeous because that's the game. And I don't think it's psychologically damaging to generations of children growing up or anything like that. But I'm happy to leave that to actual psychologists to determine the impact. And it's been a thing outside of gaming forever, like the whole what do they call it? Unachievable beauty standards and all the rest of it. That's been a thing in media forever, and I'm not sure I care. And if some proper qualified people did actual research and came to a conclusion that actually this is doing societal damage, I would be willing to listen and give them an ear. But there's definitely worse things going on in society. I don't think it is. I don't know. It's not for me, and I don't exactly look. Who gives a flying fuck what a character in a game looks like is your viewpoint, except for Red 13 because he's the best lad. He's got this really awkward growl though, hasn't he? Like the timing of it is always wrong. If it was a person acting, so Red 13, for those that don't know, it's the dog character in the Final Fantasy games, like sentient dog, talking dog, all the rest of it. Why would be spoiler territory, but there's a dog in it, and every time characters refer to him and he's supposed to be angry, it responds with a dog growl, but on like a 4-second delay every single time. And the equivalent of someone speaking would be like, "I'm so angry now," and it happens over and over again in the game. It's really weird. Angry growl. Iman, you care? Tell me what you care about. I can't remember what I've been saying. Oh, what the character looks like. It's always slightly off. It is. But like the characters in Final Fantasy, in terms of beauty standards and all the rest of it, like if you want to look like Cloud, tough shit. That's not how physics affect hair. And that's okay for an art form, right? You want to paint, you want your Saiyans to have hair that a human can't grow. That's okay. You want them to have muscle definition that's not realistic for actual people. That's okay. Is it damaging? Probably. It's more problematic that women aren't allowed to be ugly and treated like a person. And yeah, and that's fair. And that's why I don't see people championing this game and holding it against other ones and saying that they're not allowed to be ugly. I agree, that is problematic, but that's like, I'm not seeing a massive movement of people saying that Stellar Blade and Eve and the characters in that game shouldn't exist, but I am seeing a lot of people straw-manning that argument and pretending that there are a load of people crying that that character looks like that. I just don't see it. The only ones I see crying are them crying that they don't like the look of the Fable character, not the other way around. And there might be some people. Always go to weird corners of the internet and you're going to find some examples. Yeah, skinny Broly hair. Good. Pete, you've never played Fable. You never played Mass Effect. You never played Fable. Where have you been before we met, Pete? I'm so glad that we have and we can correct you and get you on the right path. I wouldn't recommend going back to Fable at this point in time, but it was notoriously under-delivered in terms of what Peter Molyneux promised. But if you were to go into it completely unaware of his promises, it was freaking awesome. And there's things that that game did that are still like not really matched in other games. Too busy making play. That's the curse of making games, I'm sure you are not alone in that. People that have aspired to make games have lost out on the joy of playing them. Even what the characters sound like has much more of an impact. Final Fantasy 16, everyone sounded bloody depressed as hell. I've not played 16 yet. But what you're hearing there, Stephen, is just a typical English accent, I'm afraid. Especially, I think they go Tyneside for some of their accents, don't they? So what you're hearing is just typical Newcastle accents where everybody is sad. So I get exactly where you're coming from. The Q&Asa box is up. The Q&Asa box. The Q&A box is up, so you may put questions in there. And on this show, unlike the podcast, we have like this running time and we try and get as many questions as we can before it ends, but don't necessarily get to all of them. This show, I do make a point of trying to get every single one. Eradication, you finished up on Helldivers for the night. No drastic changes, just new equipment. So they've added the big Star Wars walker dinosaur things, right? And like Star Wars fans will probably hate me for calling them that, but you know what I mean. The big ones with the face guns. Not the little two-legged ones, but the four-legged big ones. They've added those. And I've not played since they added the firestorms and all of that kind of shit as well. You're from there, Stephen. Perfect. That's why to you, when you're playing Final Fantasy 16, you're like, everyone sounds depressed. That's because you can read those subtle cues. Because that's the accent you know. Actually, to be fair, I don't know where the accents are from in that game. I just know that it does explore other parts of England that might not be so familiar to me. Probably some of like my kind of accent and down south and all the rest of it as well. But the Xenoblade games are supposed to have like awkward English accents as well. Our accents just don't work that well in games typically. But I really want to play the Xenoblade games too. Nah. Republican, you're looking forward to Final Fantasy Rebirth, so you've decided, you got it on the PlayStation 5, right? But you've decided to wait for the PC version. Performance wasn't up to you. You were hoping performance might would have been improved. Doesn't seem to be the case. They added a couple of performance options, didn't they? Like a horrible sharpening filter, so you can keep it overly soft, or you can add a horrible sharpening filter, but it's still not pleasant. I'm actually pretty well adjusted to the 30 frames on it now. It's not hurting my eyes when I navigate anymore, but runs lot 60, but still very Vaseline-esque. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm playing it at 30, and it did take some adjusting. But now it's not so noticeable when I get onto it. It'll be a gorgeous game when it comes to PC, and hopefully it'll be a gorgeous game on the PlayStation 5 Pro. But Fable 2 was quite special. Most of my memories from Fable still come from Fable 1. I don't know why that is, but it just left more of a mark on me. It was like, if you go back to Fable 1 now, this is why I say I'm not sure that you should go back to Fable 1, Pete, but Fable 1, if you go to it now, is really small, really tiny, small areas of map connected through loading screens. And it's tiny to go back to, but at the time that didn't matter. Like, other games must have been more or less like that. Combat was fine, so they kind of pioneered context sensitive combat to some degree. They got some criticism because like you could use one button to do a lot of things, but it was context sensitive in that what the moves that the character would execute would be dependent on like where the enemy was, what kind of scenery was around them, and all the rest of it. And that echoed through the industry for freaking ages, because that's just standard in a lot of games now. But it also had the bit that is rarely equaled, and some of the Grand Theft Auto games went this line as well, but very few other games, was in Fable you started off as a child, but the way that your character grew up and developed depended very much on how you played the game. And it's not even that sophisticated a concept, but it's just so rarely touched upon. But if you used like heavy weapons, then your character would get muscular. If you ran around a lot, then you lose weight. If you ate pies all the time, then you get fat. And if you even had like if you went out in the daytime a lot, then your skin would get tanned. But if you just stuck to indoors at nighttime, then you'd be all pasty. And then it had its good and evil filter, so if you were taking bad decisions all the time, then you proper devil like get horns and stuff. Or you could get a halo if you did all good all the time and all that kind of stuff. And I can't remember what Magic did. I think Magic made you kind of lean and tall. And that system of having a character that started from the same base and developed based on how you play, holy shit, Sea of Thieves should have had that. Right? Like, if you're gonna not let me design my own character, if you're gonna make me select a pirate from your random wheel, let them develop naturally according to the way that I play, and Sea of Thieves would have been 10 out of 10 fucking top dog, brilliant game. I would have loved that. So genuinely, like, if Sea of Thieves had pursued that, I would have been all over it. Because that's like intuitive character customization. It's personalized. Oh, scars as well. Fable had scars. If you kept losing fights and getting beaten to shit, you would get wrecked. Baz. You'd get wrecked and you'd be scarred all over the place. Your hair would grow over time, all of this kind of stuff. In Sea of Thieves, I really wanted that to be the case. Like, severely... I swear the technology is there. I swear they could do this in the game if they wanted to, and they've just chosen not to. My shirt says that I have no idea what's going on, and that is absolutely true. I rarely have any idea what is going on. I'm right though, right? Like, that concept, if you were playing a game like Sea of Thieves and you don't get to create your own character because they've got their own idea of what your pirate should be, so you're selecting from this randomized wheel or whatever. If you had like your character's build changing depending on what kind of activities you were partaking in, how cool would that be by comparison to what we've got now? If you got like your leg bitten off by a shark, so you had to have a peg leg until you got to like some healing fountain of youth or whatever, how cool would that be? Not go into a menu and go, oh, I feel like having a peg leg today. No, my leg got bitten off by a shark. My character's got a scar across his face because he lost a fight with another pirate. My character's really strong because he, I don't know, hoists the sails all the time as opposed to firing cannons or whatever. That would have been cool. And what's really weird is I think Sea of Thieves was made for that and they just didn't do it. Probably copyrighted the character evolution mechanic. Fable wasn't Sony. What's Chronic? What Sony game had it? Because I want to play whatever game that is. Because Fable was obviously Microsoft when they owned Lionhead. But Rockstar did it with Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Not to the extent that Fable did, but they had some of it. Like you could lift weights and get stronger or whatever. This imaginary game does sound pretty cool. Thing is, Tom, in the Sea of Thieves beta before the game actually launched, I had a pirate in the beta. I didn't play it much in the beta because it wasn't very interesting. The game at launch wasn't all that good. But on the very last day of the beta, I logged into Sea of Thieves and my pirate, I swear, had been aged to like maximum on the slider. So he went from being the pirate that I selected from the pirate wheel to being drastically aged. And at that point I was like, oh, they're doing it. Like they're doing natural progression of your character. That's why we can't design them. Nope. My pirate hasn't aged in Sea of Thieves since the day it launched. Apart from that one login just before they closed the beta. So, I don't know. I reckon it was made for it and they just backed away for some reason, which is a big shame. Mass Effect is incredible. One of the best sci-fi series ever created. It so, like, stands up against other mediums as a sci-fi universe. One of those special ones. Like Halo used to do it. I say used to, some people will get upset by that, but Halo used to stand as top quality sci-fi for the first 3 games. Mass Effect was right up there, like brilliant universe. Brilliant universe. By the end of Mass Effect 3. I will say actually, it wasn't flawless throughout the entire journey. So if you went from Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 1 set the scenes and the foundations for the universe perfectly. Mass Effect 2 went a bit silly with it. And Mass Effect 3 like pulled it back into line, but never got around to playing Mass Effect. Landmark game. Play it. If you like general, like a space-based sci-fi, it has such a solid universe. Black and White and Star Citizen intending to add a similar character even. So Black and White was Lionhead as well. So that's not PlayStation, that was also Microsoft. I think Black and White came before the acquisition. But Star Citizen's intending to do it. Star Citizen and Intentions, wonderful. Have at it. Keep crowdfunding, make this dream game. But until it's real, it is just a dream game. Black and White was a little bit different because the evolution was way less in depth than Fable. I think you had good and evil as your. So for those that don't know, Black and White was like a god game. So you played like a floating hand or whatever, but you controlled a giant pet essentially. So you had civilizations that you had to manage, and you could interact with them directly, like pick them up and throw rain on them and whatever else. But you also had a pet that was supposed to like execute your will. And depending on how you behaved as a god and how you treated, like rewarded and reprimanded your pet, you could teach them to be vicious or good. And their appearance would also evolve according to how you were treating them. But it was made by the same people as Fable, so fair that they're going to keep exploring something brilliant. We really should have so much more of that right now. I always, since the day that I played Fable, the first time it came out, because I was already into MMO RPGs at that point in time, and I was like, you put this in an online game, and that's a dream game. Put that in an online game where your character is your character, who is like their appearance is storied and is based on like how you've used them over time. Win. I'll play that forever. Give me that. Nobody's given me that. It's been 100 years and nobody's given me that. And it's not that we don't have the technology, because we do have the technology. Like, you could implement that in a game, but nobody has. You remember Xbox having a cool stand for it at EGX? The queue was massive, so you went to it first thing in the morning. Which one's this? Fable? Microsoft made a massive mistake letting go of Lionhead. Yes. They made a massive mistake in how they managed Lionhead and what they did with that studio. But I'm not sure, like that final point where they let them go, I think was several years past the point of critical failure, if that makes sense. Because Fable Legends was not it. And Milo was not it. So Fable Legends, again, for those that don't know, you got Fable 1, 2 and 3, this really storied, quintessentially British high fantasy RPG that's built around these concepts of the character and all the things that I've been talking about up to now, the way that your character develops and all of that kind of stuff, with a bit of British humour and a lot of good stuff going on. They took that and went, we don't want to make another RPG, we're going to make Fable Legends. And whose decision this was, whether it was like Peter Molyneux or someone at Lionheads, seems unlikely, or whether it was a dictate from Microsoft, they decided to try and make it into a free-to-play live service asymmetrical multiplayer game where one player played as a dungeon master and 4 people played as Fable Legends classes selected from a list. What a catastrophe. So that game never saw the light of day. But you know, it's always hard to attribute responsibility for massive failings like this when we're on the outside and we don't see who's making critical decisions and all the rest of it. But like, it would be easy to say it's all Microsoft's fault, but Peter Molyneux left Microsoft having done Milo, notorious Fate Connect AI demo. He then went on to do some weird mobile game where everyone around the world had to click on like a cube or something, with the goal being like the person that gets the final click on the cube gets immortalized in Peter Molyneux's next game or something like that. Does anyone remember what that was called? And is my description accurate on that? Because I never downloaded and touched this thing, but my understanding was essentially it was a big cube. Millions of people were supposed to tap on it, and each time you tapped, you like chipped away at the cube. But the player that got the very last tap was supposed to be rewarded in some profound way within Peter Molyneux's next game. And I don't know what happened to that. He's gone on to some weird path. He's gone on from making like dreams of trees growing over time in Fable, dreams of these like things that are supposed to be delivered in this game that he couldn't ever quite meet, but they were aspirational and they were brilliant, onto doing some weird shit. And I don't know how much of Lionhead's downfall is because he went all kooky or how much of it is because Microsoft steered them very wrong. I suspect mostly Microsoft steered them wrong because this was in the dark days of Kinect, and not really focusing on what they wanted Xbox to be, not really having a clear vision, or not a vision that we could share and enjoy. Curiosity, what's inside? Is that what it was called, Chronic? They could have fixed Fable Legends with a bit of time. I lean against it, Chronic, because I'm very much anti asymmetrical multiplayer games. I don't think they ever work and are ever good. And people will have games that they like that are asymmetrical, but for me it's just a flop of a genre that makes no sense. It sits in a weird place where by its very nature, if it's asymmetrical, it will never be considered fair. You can tweak and balance it for all eternity to try and make sure that both sides have an equal chance of winning, but it will never feel good to win or lose on either side, because it was never a fair fight. You had completely different parameters for how you could play. So it's a flop of a genre, and there was a phase where so many developers were pursuing it. Even I think BioWare had one that was in the works, like Shadow something or other, that was supposed to be 1 against 4. You had Evolve from 2K and Turtle Rock, whatever they were called. Because one player played like a kaiju giant monster and 4 people played hunters trying to kill them. Predator is one of these games, actually. Predator is a Sony published game from like the Predator movies, obviously. The Sony published game that came out on PlayStation and PC a while ago and has just come to Xbox, or is just coming to Xbox around about now, but it was never good. Not forgetting the Fable Connect game. I never touched the Fable Connect game, so I don't know a lot about it. It was horse riding, wasn't it? You're right that there was a Fable Connect game, and that's definitely a dictate from Microsoft. Everyone had to try and do it. What do we think about Connect? Where we are sitting in the industry today, Connect no longer being a thing on the market. Putting aside like how Microsoft screwed up with it, how much they like forced it on their developers and tanked Xbox with it, and all the rest of the problems that the Xbox One had. As a piece of technology, if it were optional, is it endearing? Is it compelling? Is there any merit to what it did, putting aside the way that Microsoft handled it and all the rest of it? Fable Journey, that's the one, I think. Chronic, you loved Kinect, but only for voice control. It was too unreliable for motion. There's a funny thing. So many people, when you do talk about Kinect, so many people are like, oh, I really like the voice control. And it's like, and I'm not saying this is a dig at you, Chronic, because the voice control was one of the most notably effective things in it. But it's like, that's not Kinect. That's a microphone. That's like, none of that needed to go away when Kinect went away. Like the PlayStation controller has a microphone in it. All of the functionality that was voice activated by a Kinect, that wasn't Kinect. Like, it's just a microphone. So you could implement that aspect of it, and there are people that like that. You could implement that for like $3 or something. Stick a microphone somewhere on the console, somewhere on the controller, and you can say Xbox on all you want. Kinect nearly killed Xbox. Yes, but this is the line of separation I'm trying to make, but so forget what Microsoft did with it, because the reason that Kinect nearly killed Xbox is because Microsoft forced this focus on it and then packaged it in with the Xbox One. But put that aside and just fundamentally look at it like, is this good technology for gaming, or was it good technology for gaming? Because obviously Microsoft have like burnt it and distanced themselves from it, and it doesn't exist anymore. But the reason that Kinect is of interest to me at the moment is because like numerous occasions over the last months and years, when you look at Microsoft's strategy for expanding gaming, I keep coming back to the controller. So you've got cloud gaming and Game Pass, and everybody can play without a console and all the rest of it. And I have to keep saying, like, that's all well and good, but it assumes that there is an audience for the games that we love. And in reality, a lot of people do not want to hold a controller. And then it's weird because you shift back like 10, 15 years to where people recognize that as an issue. Like the money people that were chasing expanding audiences chased that waggle and that controllerless experience. And it wasn't good for people like me. But I look at the direction that Microsoft are trying to grow now. I say, yeah, actually you were on the right lines 10 or 15 years ago. If you wanted to expand the audience, that was the path. And now you're trying to expand it via a controller. Really, like, they need to marry that. They need to expand gaming and get rid of that barrier. I'm obviously comfortable with the controller, and I'm not talking about myself here, but you want to expand the audience. The Wii expanded the audience more than cloud gaming ever has. Way more than cloud gaming ever has. 110 million Wiis were sold because you didn't need a controller. Seems more important than not needing a console. What? 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 Isla says what? And I don't know what the question is. Wiimote was a cool controller. It was, but it wasn't a controller, was it? It was a waggle mote. That's what I mean. Like Nintendo, the Wii did so well because you could give it to anyone and they could play tennis or go bowling. They didn't have to hold the left trigger and press X. Like, a controller is a thing that people aren't interested in outside of the core gamers that are already there, the console and PC gamer. Which is why Nintendo did so well. It was renowned as a Christmas console that you could get anyone. It did have, Isla, I'm not saying that the Wii couldn't do other things, but the reason it was a success wasn't because it did all of those things. It was because you could do bowling and tennis. It was the non-controller experience. Like, yeah, there was something in your hand, but it wasn't an Xbox controller. And Kinect followed the same line. Kinect was chasing the same thing that the Wii did, because at that point in time, you could, like, the whole industry looked at the Wii and went, wow, here's an audience. So the Kinect required no controller at all. You could use natural body movements. It was like, the idea was that it was mainstream, not gamer, like mainstream. And that's, I don't mind chasing that audience, but it's so clear now that that is the audience that they're chasing. Like they're desperate to expand the audience, and they've not managed to replicate what the Wii did to expand the audience. Granted, you love the nunchuck controller. You'd gladly use controllers like that on your PC. Yeah. The Wii Fit board was great. Yeah. Balance board. Yeah, but it was like, it was known as the like console for the family, right? For like your nan could play on the Wii at Christmas. That was it by reputation, and that's so what Microsoft need right now for their Xbox strategy. They need it to be the Wii. By reputation, they need it to be the Wii. And then everything like falls into place on their grand strategy to reach 2 billion gamers or whatever. And sadly, I think touchscreen is probably the closest equivalent for them to pursue. If you want to reach new gamers that aren't used to sitting there with an Xbox controller, and then a mobile phone touchscreen is probably the way that it will go. But I don't know, it's weird to see like some things change and some things don't, right? And the need to expand the audience has not changed. They're pursuing different avenues, but actually if you married them all together, maybe they'd be onto something. Justice for Raymond. Raymond's fine. Anyway. So shady, the first human with Elon Musk Neuralink is a quadriplegic that was playing some fantasy MMO with his mind. I thought he played... I remember reading what he played. I thought it was like a 4X game or something rather than an MMO. I can't remember. It's interesting though, isn't it? I wonder if we'll get to a point where like a neuro implant lets you execute quicker than a mouse does and more accurately than a mouse does. Then suddenly the competitive gaming scene is in turmoil. Everyone needs brain implants to be competitive. That's good. Like at the moment, neuro implants, Neuralink, and all the rest of it. I think from what I saw, and it was very vague and very like these are the first steps, but it was fairly rudimentary in how functional it was. So it is fantastic in terms of like solving problems and helping people that need that kind of help. Best thing that Elon Musk is doing at the moment, right? So presumably he's got no hand in it whatsoever, but he must be funding it to some degree. The idea in tech is insane, and yeah, like again, that's aspirational, and I hope that that is a massive success. Tom, you refuse Alexa, let alone big tech brain implants. I'm first in line for a VR brain implant. Like fucking sign me up. I don't care. Stick it in my brain and immerse me in a world. And I'm there. Yeah, I don't actually know how true that is. If I were actually given the opportunity, if it came about right now, like we've got this this prototype chip and there's like a 95% chance that you'll get the perfect VR experience, that you'll be like in the Matrix, you can live there, you can believe it, it'll be the ultimate in gaming, but there's a 5% chance you'll just die. I'd be like, oh fuck, I don't know what I'd do with that. What about you? 95% chance, gaming nirvana, 5% chance you just die. Do you do it? I think I'm signing up, you know. Imagine we get to the point where your character does exactly what you want. It would be unstoppable online with that tech. You think it depends, so Shady. It would have to be like better than you control your own body for it to be that good. Because I can tell you, if you play like a competitive shooting game in VR, where essentially your character can do whatever you want because you're controlling your physical body to aim, shoot, turn, all the rest of it. Yeah, you might find that people aren't as good as they think they are. Maybe a mouse is more effective. Especially me on my treadmill. Like I can't shoot for shit when I'm in a sprint. Yeah, you'd need a brain implant that you could control quicker and more accurately than your own limbs. Headshot, Matrix, dodge headshot, yeah. I don't know if the brain, like, if you ignore the whole electrical signals to limbs and all the rest of it, I don't know if the brain is quick enough to actually do that. If you could get rid of all of those delays, are people actually responsive enough? Maybe one day we'll know, hey? Maybe one day. Video games will be lighter than flesh limbs. Yeah. I suppose that's true. Maybe if you could taste and get the texture of a good steak, then you consider it. Wow, Tom. Considering it though, like, no, I need a yes or a no. 95% chance. It's perfect. It's the Matrix. You can be Cypher. You can be eating your steak and be like, yeah, this tastes like steak. You can feel like it's a chip and it's the electrical impulses into your brain telling you what is real. But you might die. 5%. That's a good point, Tom. I'm surprised you didn't pick up on that. Like, that might already be your reality. FCW is there. We're already in a simulation, so you're good on that. Do you know what? I'm streaming on Twitch right now. Twitch is a dickhead. Fuck you, Twitch. Sorry if there is anybody watching on Twitch, then I love you very much, but Twitch is such a dead platform for getting anybody to come and watch. And that's a shame, because actually I want Twitch to do well. Like, I don't want Google to own everything. I don't want Kick to replace Twitch, because Kick is seedy, dirty, gambling fuckheads. Sorry, that's like unnecessarily sweary, but I want Twitch to do well. I know Twitch is like owned by Amazon, so it's not like they're humble little guys that need that care and attention, but competition in the streaming space is like, there is none. There is none. Do I have an imaginary friend called Gamsley? I don't know where Gamsley is, so I'm not sure I can call him a friend if he's not here. That's like unnecessarily harsh. Gams is a good guy. Gamsley is going to be featuring on the Almost Ready Nintendo podcast. I say almost ready. All we've got is a name. All we've got is a name. And some people. Ready to start. It's very important to me because I don't want to be considered an Xbox podcast. Oh, I can't read that. Tyler, you're my biggest fan. Autograph your paycheck. I will do it. I will do it. Gamsey only comes out on Thursdays, kept in his box till he's needed. No, Gamsey actually is very open to doing more, like playing games and all the rest of it. He's just very busy at the moment. Spoilers. I never spoil. I didn't say who's involved. I didn't say what the podcast is going to be called. I only reiterated for the world that I'm not an Xbox channel because that's important. Anyway, what are we talking about today? He kicked his renovators into gear. Do you know, I actually haven't asked what about the move takes 7 months. But something does. Eradication, you're here to make me grow. Wait, fair. That's fair, Eradication. Thank you for that. That's over from Twitch. It's been an hour and 13 minutes. I know, but I had vague topics. I wanted to talk about Stellar Blade a little bit, and actually, so it was Gaming with Passion is keen on it. Says that I should, like, it is a good game. Ignoring all of the noise around it, there is a good game in there that I might enjoy. So I learnt that. That's the Stellar Blade conversation. Boobs and Jigglypuff. Yeah, that's the Stellar Blade conversation. We've already moved past that. I didn't dare you to play Age of Empires. I absolutely dare you to play Age of Empires. Do it. Do it now. Do a whole nother level before you go to sleep. Maybe 2. He's getting the work done on his renovator's spare time. I don't know. That's a question for Gamsley, really. So don't put it in the Q&A box because I don't know. Don't know the answer. 2 is too many. It takes several hours. Does it really? Pete. I'm on a roll tonight. Thank you. That's nice of you to say so, but I will not ignore the time because I want to talk a little bit. This is going back to the start of the show. What have we been playing? Because I didn't say I've been playing Final Fantasy 14. It's a t-shirt from QWERTY. I've got no idea episode 13. All I know about this t-shirt is that I have 2 of them exactly the same. Biggest fan part wasn't a joke. Well, you say that, Isla, but you're not the only person that said that to me today. You're not the only person that's claimed to be my biggest fan today. So, there you go. Really, genuinely, truly. But I did correct the other person and say you're not. I'm sorry, but you're really not. So, there you go. Gamsey's on your list for that WoW slander yesterday. Do you know what? Gamsey likes World of Warcraft. He was a gladiator on World of Warcraft. He played it a lot. I think he likes being combative more than anything in the world. So he likes to pick an argument that's not actually happening in reality. I think you can take him off your list for World of Warcraft hate because he loves World of Warcraft. He keeps asking to play it. Actually, Replicant, I want to play World of Warcraft. All of this Final Fantasy 14 time is making me want to play it. For those that don't know, Final Fantasy 14 is like a reskin. It's not strictly true or fair, but it's a very clear copy of World of Warcraft set in a Final Fantasy universe. It's not vague. It's very, very Final Fantasy, but it does undermine itself occasionally with like pop culture and all the rest of it. Tony, it's not. Sit down. Sit down, play your Final Fantasy 15 until you realize that it's not a very good Final Fantasy. If you need to play other Final Fantasies to learn this lesson, then do that as well. I'm assuming 15 is the only one you played. Tony, is 15 the only one you've played? I can't remember. Tom, it won't let you post your member chat. It says it needs editing, but that will not work. I will get Google on the phone immediately. Someone pass me a phone. I don't have a secretary. No one's going to pass me a phone, so I can't phone Google for you right now. But Tom, you know, you can just like type your message. I'm reading them all. And very much appreciate that you're still doing the membership thing. Wait, I thought you weren't doing a membership thing. You moved over to Patreon. Episode 13, I'm not more sassy. I'm in a nicer mood. That's all. That's all. Must be someone self-important. Nah. Someone just misguided. Get my Google rep on the phone. I can't. I don't know how to use a phone. Episode 13. Good idea. Save it for Thursday. See if you can get a reaction from the Xbox guys. No, Stephen. Final Fantasy 15 isn't the best Final Fantasy. Come on now. World of Final Fantasy is better than 15, and World of Final Fantasy isn't even a real game. It's a weird thing. It's actually not bad, the World of Final Fantasy one. So anyway, I've been playing Final Fantasy 14. It's the World of Warcraft Final Fantasy. It takes an awful lot of what makes World of Warcraft and puts a Final Fantasy skin on it. But I've played it multiple times in the past and fallen off of it. But this time I'm really, like, it's got me hooked, I think. Which is terrible news for everybody that was hoping for content and other games. I'm thoroughly enjoying it because MMOs, like I said before on a different show, they straddle this comfortable line where you've got games that work on familiarity. So like Isla's guilty of this. You can, not guilty because it's not a bad thing, but you can play a game that you know, like a comfort game, because it's so familiar and you can play it forever and you keep going back to it, and it feels nice to play something that you know so well, like inside and out, backwards and forwards. You can play that game. But there's also a lot to be said for following the wave of new things and consuming new content and always chasing the next kind of high, the next innovation, the next new thing. And then you've got MMOs that try and often quite successfully deliver both. They are, you can play them forever and you can get that familiarity and that comfort, and you can go back to a character that you've had for like a decade. But they're also delivering new stuff all the time. It's like, it's the good side of games as a service, because they keep delivering new things, so you can get the familiar and the new, and you can marry them, and you can just play those and forget all of the other games for a while. And that's what makes them so effective, like what keeps people hooked on them for so long. Replicant, you had people on Xbox have subbed up and playing it. What, Final Fantasy? Bitlyrist. Wait, Bitlyrist. I missed it. Oh, Tom, you got one of the gifted membership. That makes all of the sense. That does. Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Final Fantasy took the Warcraft mechanics and made it available on more platforms. There are definite differences in the way that it feels, and I'm speaking as a level like 24 baby Final Fantasy player. So anyone that's actually played the game can just dismiss everything that I say, because obviously you know a lot more than I do. But Final Fantasy has like a 2.5 second base global cooldown, so the kind of time to execute and press buttons and skills is quite relaxed compared to Warcraft. But depending on what your class is, it might be as low as half a second, like skill. Final Fantasy is quite chill, quite relaxed. Does Series X boost it? What, Final Fantasy? It's not available on the Xbox One, so yeah, I wouldn't call it a boost. It's got a native Series X version. We only have 4 questions. Ask more so the show goes on forever. The show's not going to go on forever because I need to get back to my Final Fantasy 14. That's not true. But so Final Fantasy 14 has this really unusual, to me, like across the gamut of MMO RPGs, it has a really weird system of character development. So my character, you cannot make a good character on Final Fantasy 14. That's the first thing to note. You have to make a weird I don't even know how to describe them nicely. But you cannot make like a rugged or fierce character in Final Fantasy. You cannot make a character that feels like a warrior. You have to make like a pretty Final Fantasy character, probably with bunny ears or something silly like that. Most of them have tails. But you get through that and you make your kind of anime character. And from there, that character can do everything that the game has to offer. So if you play World of Warcraft or any other MMO, you make a character and you have a class or a skill set assigned to them. And that is what they are. And if you decide you want to be like a healer instead or whatever, then you make another character. Final Fantasy uses a job system and lets you swap between anything and everything. You have to level them all up from the beginning each time you do, but you can be everything. And it's really difficult because my family won't decide what they want to be. This is the other thing that has helped with Final Fantasy getting its hooks into me, is I have people to play it with. I've got my family, so my wife and my 2 lads are both playing it. And there are a bunch of people in the Gaming Arcadia Discord that are getting on it as well. And it's doing the dopamine thing that an MMO needs to do during the leveling experience. It's giving me enough to do and speedy enough progress and constantly learning new things, finding new things, being given new things to do. So I'm playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it. Tom, you guess not much different apart from the Uber frame rate, as it's pretty old. You don't think the remaster did anything super demanding? Remaster of what? I've lost the conversation. This is my fault. Replicant, you're loving Final Fantasy 14, but you're like going to go back to World of Warcraft as soon as there's new World of Warcraft content for you as well, right? You want to share the love to both of them. Replicant, have you tried any of the non-fighting stuff, like the craft systems, the mining and the crafting and all that kind of stuff? Because that's something Final Fantasy does very differently to other games. If you're not sure about it, right, if you don't know if this is a fun game or a terrible game, you just keep an eye on things, because I'll start streaming it soon. As well as Warcraft. I want to play both. I've got a massive MMO bug at the moment. I'm aware that I've not said anything at all of worth or of note about Final Fantasy 14 just then, but it's a weird one conversationally, because I've got people here that are familiar with the game more so than I am, and people that have absolutely no interest in MMOs. But the difficulty is reasonable too. By comparison to what? Because for me, at the moment, I've not really encountered anything challenging on Final Fantasy XIV to the point that I would maybe consider that a flaw. But I also consider that a flaw for World of Warcraft, where it's just too easy most of the time. But what kind of MMOs aren't? Because World of Warcraft in Classic had challenges, like original World of Warcraft. It was still relatively streamlined and easy compared to the other games on the market when it came out, but you could go into a group area and get your ass handed to you if you wanted to. Replicant, you're a bard, so you've been playing your instruments to others, you never craft. Fair enough. Did you become a bard on purpose? Or was it like, did you want to be an archer and then you just realized too late that it leads to being a bard? FTW, your internet situation is a legitimate problem, except actually you play online games though, don't you, despite your internet? You've been playing like Helldivers and stuff, right? Stuff that's more sensitive to a bit of latency, I suppose. World of Warcraft difficulty is all in the mythic dungeons and raids. Yeah, I'm not... Okay, so one of the things that I really like about Final Fantasy so far, having not experienced it firsthand, but just from what I've seen of the classes and things, is that it's not World of Warcraft. So when I look at the Final Fantasy classes, it's tuned for fun rather than tuned for the razor's edge. And you mentioned the mythic dungeons and the raids on Warcraft, and I'll come back to that in a second. In fact, I'll come back to it right now. So in World of Warcraft, one of its biggest flaws for me is that they expose damage meters to players. They let players see exactly how they compared to other players and then they designed around that because of all the noise from the community. So all of the classes in World of Warcraft have to be like within 0.5% of the damage that the other classes do in every scenario. You can't have a class that's really good at AoE. You can't have a class that's really good at burst damage. Like, they can have real subtle variants, but they have to be kept so tight in. You can't have a class in World of Warcraft that has a unique buff, because they will not allow a class to be like essential because they have a buff that the other classes don't. So everything is so crushed down to be, everyone has to be the same. If you're a DPS, you have to do this exact number of like damage per second on a single target, and this kind of number for multi-target, and you cannot deviate from that, and all of our classes have to be designed to fit that goal. And it's like horrid. I really liked so when World of Warcraft originally came out, there was an exception to that rule in like the shaman character did about 20% less damage than everybody else because they had really strong buffs. So that was definitely the character that I went for, because like I like that kind of off-kilter support class. I liked the idea of buffing the group and being useful for that. And they had to strip that out because all of the numbers have to be the same throughout. Homogenization is the death of MMOs. Balance is a huge time sink, so they don't bother. Well, what Final Fantasy does though, I was looking at the classes that are available, and I was just looking at the tank classes. And in World of Warcraft, the tanks are going to have an exact amount of survivability, an exact amount of heal ability, and they're going to need to have the exact same amount of control in all scenarios. And the differences are supposed to be like flavor. But because they have to be equally effective in all circumstances, there's not a lot to it. They're complicated enough to play, but they have so much similarity between them. It is homogenized, and it's horrible. And I'm not saying this because I hate World of Warcraft. That's not it. I like World of Warcraft. I really want to play that game. But it is so refreshing to go to Final Fantasy and learn that this tank has really good burst damage. This one has really good mitigation for members in the party. This one is the only one that can make your party like have a movement boost. And throughout all of these classes, they're all so different. They're all so different. And the healers all do like good competitive damage if you want them to. Some of them, like the behaviors between them are varied, and it feels like you can actually pick a character that you like the sound of and a role that you like the sound of beyond the base like 3 in the triad, and make it your own and have fun with it. So I love that about it. Before I've even got there to experience it, just being able to look at the classes and go, this one behaves completely differently to that one. Like they're both damage, but they have completely different perks and strengths. So much better than everyone has to be the same. So that's exciting. Isla, I think that you are strong enough to move a cat if you really need to. I believe in you. You have my full support. The difference with Final Fantasy, the difference, this is Replicant who plays both, plays a lot of World of Warcraft, but is only just getting into Final Fantasy alongside me, really. So the difference with Final Fantasy 14 and WoW is leveling. You get to 60 so quickly in World of Warcraft now that you really no longer level by experiencing all the content in vanilla and the expansions. This is also a thing for me. I like the leveling experience, sometimes more than the end game. It's not necessarily true for an MMO. Well, it kind of is. The concept of end game was kind of introduced by WoW for me. Like I played endless grind games before that. It is a shame that it's too quick. I would say Final Fantasy is possibly slightly succumbing to that as well. It has an awful onboarding experience. Awful first couple of hours. Genuinely like vomit. So much click to read, deliver letter, click to read, deliver letter, click to read, click to read, click to read. You're all so boring and I hate you all. But I also get the distinct impression. So Final Fantasy XIV has quite an interesting history. But at its current point in time, it's been sped up from its second launch. So the leveling experience has been like streamlined and sped up because Final Fantasy XIV's expansion content, so post-end game content, each expansion that dropped, those are supposed to be phenomenal and a massive step up from the base campaign. But the base campaign is still there and they just accelerated it. But you get these weird circumstances where you'll talk to someone and they'll be like, oh, good job doing my quest. Come back when you're level 5. And you're like, I'm level 8. What are you talking about? And then the next thing is like, oh, well done for getting to level 5. Do the next quest. So it has got some awkwardness in its how much the leveling experience has been sped up. I would say it is possibly slightly on the fast side as well. Like you do a dungeon on Final Fantasy at the moment in the lower levels and you come out 3 levels higher than you went in. But yeah, you do the main story quest and the blue icon quest and it's faster than it used to be. But like I say, from what I hear, the content that you get after getting through the leveling experience is supposed to be wonderful. So I look forward to it. Final Fantasy XIV though, it had a really interesting, like you talk about games that have had a revival that launched in a bad state and came back strong through patches and all the rest of it. Final Fantasy XIV makes it part of its identity because it had a terrible launch as Final Fantasy XIV, so bad that they took it off the market, shut it down, worked on it, fixed it up and re-released it as A Realm Reborn. But the core story for A Realm Reborn constantly references the failed game. So that's kind of neat. The menuing is horrendous. It's so much menuing. There are a lot of menus. I don't actually mind them. I'm finding my way around the menus okay. Final Fantasy 16 was also horrendous, but that was because it was like a console game on PC. Wait, no, 11. Final Fantasy 11. I wouldn't call 11 horrendous because I liked that it was so different to the roller coaster, like the theme park World of Warcraft Final Fantasy 14 style. Final Fantasy 11 was the first Final Fantasy attempt at an online game. And it did come out on Xbox as well, didn't it? Was it PlayStation 2, that one? PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360? But it was, like, not welcoming. Not welcoming at all. You had to play with a group for almost all of the content in there. Like it was get in a party or you're useless. And then grind there, which like that can really work if you're able to get on with the social side of it. But it can also really not work if you're not able to get on with the social side of it. So, who's going to play all of the MMO RPGs with me? Because I want to play Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft at the moment. And I want to fit in some virtual reality because I haven't done enough of that lately. Pete, I'm sorry, I've let you down. You said I was on form and you know, I feel like I was doing well. But I've descended into madness and gibberish. Replicant, you have your chocobo now. What level are you to get that? Chocobo. Fucking hate those birds. Not as much as the Moogles. You're waiting for Microsoft to port World of Warcraft to Xbox. One thing I haven't tried or considered is healing on Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy obviously supports controller throughout because it's on the consoles, it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation. Which means all of the roles have to work on a controller there. World of Warcraft, the biggest challenge, you can play most of the classes on a controller reasonably effectively. It doesn't like support controller, but if you want to with mods and all the rest of it, you can do it. But you can't be an effective healer with a controller. And that would mean like fundamentally changing a lot about the game to bring it to console. But I don't know how Final Fantasy handles that, because obviously the healing is like very, very similar. Like everything about the mechanics of the game is very, very similar, apart from being a bit slower. Final Fantasy XIV controller support is fantastic considering its complexity. Yeah, healing's the one that I don't know. It's healing you have to be able to... I can see how it could work just fine in a small group if you got 4 targets to heal, because you can just assign them to like the D-pad or whatever, flick around between who you need to target, no problem. But once you get into like raid content and big group healing, I don't know how that would work. I don't think Final Fantasy XIV supports mouse and keyboard on Xbox. Don't know why not. World of Warcraft could. But if they bring World of Warcraft to console and then demand that you use mouse and keyboard to fully explore it, that's a missed opportunity. I don't know, it's a tricky one actually, because PC players will be upset if they reworked healing just to get console people on board. Yeah, maybe. Final Fantasy XIV has mouse and keyboard on PlayStation 5. I don't know for certain that it doesn't on Xbox, but I think I heard that it doesn't. I don't know why not, because obviously the Xbox does support mouse and keyboard. What the Xbox doesn't support is naughty words like free company. Free companies being the equivalent of guilds on Final Fantasy. Common terminology within the game if you want to play socially and get in a group. But apparently people have been getting banned for looking for free company because, you know, Microsoft can be a little heavy-handed in their moderation. Imagine that, you get banned from Xbox for using the terminology of a game, like in that game. Xbox, like it's I get that, like, the world of online isn't always pleasant, and I kind of appreciate that they're trying to. I don't want to be offered free company by porn bots every 10 seconds, which is presumably the intent of the moderation, is to stop that kind of scenario from happening. So I appreciate that they're trying, but hopefully they clear that one up pretty quickly, because you can't ban people for using the in-game terminology. Episode 13, have a wonderful sleep. Don't be a pirate. Don't pirate things if you can afford to support them properly. Sorry, not sorry. Do you know what? I don't know what I'm talking about, so let's go on to our questions. I don't know if we've got any questions on Discord or not, but I've got Isla here and she's very helpful and will look for me. So please, Isla, can we have the first of the questions, either from the Q&A box or from Discord, whatever you deem most appropriate. So Isla, I've spent more money on Dragon Ball media and merch than anything else. For years, I compulsively bought any Dragon Ball stuff I could in hopes that it would come back one day. And it did in 2013-ish. Good, that's nice. I'm glad that it came back and I'm glad that it continues. Yeah. I'm assuming you're saying this as your stance because of what I said about the piracy thing. Doesn't negate what I said though. Episode 13 should subscribe to Crunchyroll or otherwise get legitimate access to the anime if he's going to watch it. Next question, please. Isla, I want to start a podcast. Do you think I'd be good at it? Would you watch it? Yes. You talk very nicely. I think that could be an excellent podcast. I fully encourage you to do it. So, okay, here's the next one. Tony the Arcadia. Oh, our irredeemable Tony. Apple Vision has failed. RIP VR gaming. We should play Overwatch 2 once Season 10 releases. So, Apple Vision, Tony, is never about VR gaming. So, its success or failure is irrelevant. I don't know that it has failed because it costs $3,500. So, I don't know what the expectation and the success metrics are for a device that costs that. It has some neat social features that I wouldn't consider VR gaming, like the Apple Vision face capture, like face tracking and avatar system for doing your like pretend to sit beside people, pretend to be in close proximity to people, augmented reality systems. Those actually seem really good, but they're not VR gaming, not even that close a tangent. And I don't know that Apple would consider it a failure because like, you can't expect to sell a lot of a device for $3,500. As for VR gaming, more holistically across the industry, PlayStation VR is obviously not doing very well. Quest is still selling all right. PC VR is very quiet. Very quiet. I don't know what good VR games there are on the horizon, and that is a sad state of affairs. So I'm not trying to pretend to anyone that it's in a more healthy state than it is, but Meta are still pouring money into it. Quests are still selling. The cheap Quest model is due soon. I don't know what it's called, but the Quest 3 Lite or whatever it is should spark some life into it. And it's still a freaking awesome way to play. So I want to strap that thing to my face again and get onto VR very, very soon. Very, very soon. As for Overwatch, Tony, Overwatch 2, you betrayed me the first time. And I don't know. I trust you, Tony, but I don't know if I can trust you on this. Play Quest with you. Absolutely. I want to play Quest with you. I want to play Quest with Tony. I want to play Quest with Replicant. I want to play Quest with Chronic. I want to play Quest with Havoc. All of the people that have got them. Sorry if I've missed your name there from the list, but a lot of people in our community do actually have VR available. We should get to it. There are good games on there. So Season 10 will have all the heroes available. I thought there was only one character that wasn't available at the moment, Tony. Like they added the card throwing healer character to a battle pass at some point. We need a VR room in the Discord. What would the VR room in the Discord do? Because I don't have like an Xbox room or a PlayStation room or a Nintendo room. And I know that VR isn't... Isla, you can move the cat. Move the cat. You can do it. Breathing is more important than not breathing. I don't know. That too. That too. New accounts are locked out and you need to unlock as you play through the matches. I think maybe because I had Overwatch 1, I've already got all the characters, so you abandoned our game session for no reason. For no reason. There's no VR section in the Arcadia Discord to upload fun VR footage too. Like, I'm listening, and if you want a VR section, absolutely. But VR is gameplay, and you could put it in the gameplay repository, and you wouldn't get told off. So don't feel like you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to talk VR in the other communal places, you know. But if you want a dedicated place, if you feel there is value to that, it's easy enough to add. Easy enough to add. Let's do. By the way, Tony, the answer is yes. We'll play Overwatch 2. Next question, please. Why is it called Final Fantasy if it's never the final one? Is that the meme? Do you know what, Isla? I have no idea if the intention the first time they made it was for it to be a singular game. The Final Fantasy done. But now it's just like kind of is a meme. I don't think it was deliberately a meme. I can't explain that one away. Cat jumped off you just in time. Just in time to get the oxygen. And decompress anything else that needed decompressing. A Final Fantasy with a few examples of it. But, you know, no, I don't buy that. I don't accept that. Don't accept that. Final Fantasy, especially like when you look at Final Fantasy X, where there was like a Final Fantasy X Part 2. No, there's not. It's the Final Fantasy. Come on now. So yeah, is what it is. Barry, yes, it is Final Fantasy 15 music. No one's. This is weird to me actually. Nobody has identified the background yet. Which I really thought would go very quickly. So that one's still up for grabs. Grab it, grab it, grab it. What should... Aha. Episode 13 has asked, what should the next Xbox console be called? Xbox names still remain with another name attached. It's going to be the Xbox Series S and Series X 2. Assuming they stick with the S and the X. The handheld team might throw it. Yes, Siler, it's Ghost of Tsushima. Well done. The Xbox L. Brutal. Brutal and prophetic. The final Series X. Yeah, I reckon that the plan was just to carry on with the Series S and X line and start numbering them up rather than come up with a non-sequential silly name every generation. I don't know to what extent plans will have shifted and pivoted based on essentially this generation not going very well. So I don't know. I'm still going with Series S and X2. I think was what they had in mind. So, next question, please. And episode 13, what do you think it should be called? Final Fantasy 15, Tony, I've seen that you've been playing it. I wanted to drop in and have a look, but just what I could see on the Discord preview was that stupid character, like Ignis or whatever he's called. Actually, it might not have been. I can't remember which character it was, but it just nothing about the looks of that game appeals to me. Nothing about the world of that game appeals to me. The only thing that I like about 15 is the music. That's possibly not strictly fair. Like, I remember a couple of interesting encounters along the way that were kind of fun, but it's my least favorite Final Fantasy game that I've played, I think. I've not played X2, but I think I like 13 more than 15. I like 8 more than 15. 7 and 9 and 10 were all good. I've not played 16 yet, so. The ending was pretty dark. Yeah, that, like, kinda. I'm not putting respect on any of their names. I refuse. Not the combat, not the Ubisoft world. None of it. Tony, I'm glad you agree with yourself, Tony. I'm glad you agree with yourself. I know there's a couple of you there that like it. And Replicant, you really liked 15 as well. I didn't. I will. One day I will play it again. It did have good music. I'm probably being overly harsh on it. The thing that I really didn't like about Final Fantasy 14 was the boy band, the bikini trucker girl at the start, and the Ubisoft quest structure, the hunting thing, which I didn't really engage with. I skipped most of that, but I didn't like the hunting. So the core story and all the rest of it. My weekly Final Fantasy 8 and 15 slandered. Well, do you know what? It's never going to stop until I revisit those games and realise that I was wrong. And I might. Cindy, yes. Cindy, like... Oh, nah, not for me. Not for me. You can give me, like, the Stellar Blade character, by all means, have at it. Cindy, like, what? It's like Riku all over again. Terrible. I don't think she was as annoying as Riku, but she was a weird character. Weirdly placed. Xbox Turbo? Who said Xbox Turbo? Ida, you're cold and tired. Quick, let's do the next question then. Wait, it's already there. So, Pete, how much better would the Mass Effect set be to play on PC rather than the X? I would play that on the X. Like, you're fine either way on that one, but I think you get the maximum settings resolution experience on the console. I don't think there's an advantage. Like, obviously, if you want to push past 60 frames per second or whatever, then by all means go PC. But I would actually play that one on the Series X by choice. Keep it in quick resume. It's I'm fairly like 90% sure it's 4K native, 60 frames per second, does everything that you could ask that game to do. So Tony, you have made up words, hot chocolate. Good. Flush, you liked 15, you're not sure why you like the characters. They're funny and odd. I didn't get along with them. None of their little campfire conversations made me like them anymore. You know, it's one of these things, like, my response to a game isn't solely dependent on the game itself. So it could be that if I play it again, I'll like it more. Final Fantasy 15 had its weirdness where it was tied into like a movie and all of that kind of stuff as well. You have to do the questions. Hold on, let's do the next one. You are integral, very, very important. Your help is much appreciated. Let's have... What brand of wine am I drinking? Eradication. Sadly, I'm not. I've run out. It's basically Ribena. Most of the time when I'm drinking red wine, it's an excessively sweet, jammy, something or other. Yellowtail, jammy, red, very sweet wine. I'm basically a child with an alcohol problem. Not true, I don't actually have an alcohol problem, but very nice sweet wine. Next question, please. It was Diablo. What was Diablo? Hang about. Has anyone played Diablo since the latest update? The ducks miss you. Say hi to them. The ducks don't miss me. They don't. They've not been particularly a nuisance lately. I'm not sure what your obsession with ducks is, episode 13. It's way stronger than my affinity with them. Right, you seem fairly obsessed with the ducks. I just get irritated if they're in the road in the morning, which sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. Oh, do you think red wine is for girls? Sure. And it's for me. Girls are allowed red wine. This is like... Nobody's going to know what you're talking about either. I do know what you're talking about. I encourage everyone and nobody to try red wine. I would make me a bad person if I was encouraging everyone to try red wine. But yeah, I like it. Battle.net is doing your head in after trying to install after installing Diablo. So intrusive, keeps trying to boot all the time. Eradication, it's not strictly Battle.net that does that either. Every third-party launcher that you tie to PC Game Pass does it. So because I've got why does Ubisoft do it actually? What a dickhead. If I try and launch the Xbox app on the PC, which by default it launches itself, but I don't let it do that. If I try and launch the Xbox app on the PC, it will also open the EA launcher, the Ubisoft launcher, and the Riot launcher at the same time to run them in the background. It will also, if I link it to Battle Pass, then it will just add Battle Pass to that excessive silly list. It's definitely a recommendation. Look, if you want like sweet childlike wine, then it's Yellowtail, jammy something or other. Absolutely go for it. It is a recommendation. It's very nice. Don't see a GameCube quest dip. I'm glad, Isla. I wouldn't want to inflict that on you. Tom, is the simulation stopping you from being able to think of a simulation question today? Is there a being changing the code constantly for such things, or do they just press play at the dawn of time? That's difficult, Tom. Because if the simulation has control over your own thoughts, that's a game changer. That shifts the dynamic entirely. That makes like your existence questionable. I have to believe no. I have to believe that you are able to think freely. Even if this is all a simulation created for your benefit, with you at the center of it, you are real. Question it. Like, I don't know about everything else. Obviously, from my perspective, this would be me. Like, I'm real. Even if everything's a simulation, my thoughts are my own. So no, Tom, that's just tiredness. You've not had enough sleep. Next question, please. Pete, we have made some good friends here. As it is unlikely that we'll ever be able to meet up together, what will be the best virtual or real life alternative? Would that be a good or a bad thing? Well, Pete, I reckon there'd be like some opportunities for people to meet, but we are spread across the globe, so some more difficult than others. So the best alternative is clearly like Apple Vision Pro avatar meetings. Everyone can drop 3,500 to have a little fake meetup, right? Right? I don't know the answer, Pete, actually. It's a good question. Ask that one in the Discord. Take suggestions. Happy to listen to people on that one. Not just you at the center, everyone at the center of their own universes, and it controls us all. That's the bit, Tom. I can't agree with the being controlled thing. Like, externally controlled, sure. But not literally. We can't even think for ourselves. What's it simulating if we can't even make decisions and think of things? Phew, I satisfied Pete's question. The next question is from Pete. I forgot to leave his name in. What? That's not a question. I'm ready for it. Do it. I've got it. I've got the note. I've got the tip. I'm ready. You like 13 criminal red wine. What kind of red wine is it, Replicant? Simulation with boundaries, much like a game, but far more advanced. Boundaries on thought, though. Dunno. Isla says, wait, it's censored. See, right, here we go. So this is from Pete. Dard should stop worrying about his bonds. He looks fucking great as he is. Why the shit would you spoil that nut with a wispy shit? Man up, Dard. You are cool for sure. Pete, he's gone to bed like at least an hour and a half ago. At least an hour and a half ago. So this one is misplaced. I will relay your affection to Dodge's head directly. Not to Dodge. I'm going to talk literally to his head. To let him know that he's doing good. Oh, he wrote it yesterday. Yeah, well, in that case... Wrong box. You know what, Pete? I think he's alright. I wouldn't worry too much about Dodge's self-esteem. He's doing alright. Boundary thought I'm the one who'd have an Alexa chip in my brain. Yeah, maybe. It lets me get like what I want out of, you know, whatever. Right, Barry the not Tom's creation. Barry the Zalanin. I'm sure that's wrong. What would I like the next Halo campaign to be like? You want them to continue after Infinite since it was great and expand on the open world formula. So there's a question. I want them at some point, Barry, not for the next Halo campaign because that would be self-harm. I want them to at some point fill in the gap. I want them to finish off the trilogy that they started with Halo 4. I don't like... I know that Halo 4 and 5 weren't fan favorites, but I don't like that they told the first two parts of a story and then went, well, this isn't working, and skipped to Infinite. So I want them to fill that gap in properly. As for the next one, I definitely want... again, I don't like these threads left hanging. I don't want them to abandon Infinite and just say, well, this wasn't popular, so let's forget the Endless and not take it forwards. I don't think you can have good, coherent storytelling if you keep throwing threads away in that way and go, well, we changed our mind, that's not canon anymore. So I want them to go... I want it to be a direct sequel to Infinite. I don't want them to expand on the open world. For me, the best parts of Halo Infinite, and it did have good parts, but the best parts of it were all the structured bits. Some of them touched on the surface of the world, but they were structured. I think the open world, like the grappling hook and the traversal was nice, but actually, overall, linear was better. Its best moments were the structured missions. When you first get to the open world, it's fine. When you get to the open world and you see the surface and it's still structured, it's nice. But then you get to a certain point in the campaign and it's like, oh, you can go and take over fobs and stuff in your own time and tackle objectives like a Ubisoft game whenever you want. I didn't like that. Oh, Zaladin is the species name for the Endless. So you know more of the Halo lore than I do, I would think. That's interesting. Yeah, no, I want it to be a direct sequel, and I want them to fill the gap at some point. I don't like the threads left hanging, and I don't want them to answer something as fundamental as like the Halo 5 to Halo Infinite gap shouldn't be told outside of games. This shouldn't be like a book affair. Yeah, I don't want to reboot. There were things that Infinite did that I really liked. I liked what it did with Master Chief. But they should give us the Halo 6. I don't think they can do that next though. Like, they should have done it before Infinite, obviously. I don't think they can do it as the follow-up to Infinite. They can't then go backwards. That needs to come at some other point in time. But it should come at some point. So, Tom, wait a minute. Okay, that's still simulation, not the Halo Infinite universe, the Infinite simulations. So, let's do the next question. Again, like all of them, if anybody else wants to chip in and talk about what you want out of the next Halo, then by all means, have at it. Episode 13 has asked, will Nintendo ever make a proper console again with a damn handle? One, handle does not define a proper console. What? Only the GameCube has a handle. Two, no, they won't. Like, they're very reluctant to do the same again but better. They remain reluctant to do exactly the same and just make it more powerful. So the next one's not likely to be the Switch form factor made more powerful, but they do typically kind of foster the stuff that was good. Like, you still got motion controls from when they did that with the Wii, and they introduced the extra screen on the Wii U, and they kept that on the Switch. So everything that we've got they will keep, and they will probably add something new and weird that may or may not work. But as for it going back to being a competitor with Xbox and PlayStation, like, why would they? Commercially, why would they enter that fray? Can't see it. Why would anyone enter that particular like struggling area? If it was appealing, if people saw money there would be way more competitors in that space than there are. Larry, you like the infinite open world and you hate Ubisoft games. It was fully optional playground for the awesome game. It did have, like, I would have liked it a lot more if it rained, I think. That's probably the key differentiator. If Halo Infinite pissed it down with rain, then I'd be like, oh, this is a nice open world. But it didn't rain. So that's what I want for the next Halo game. Make it piss it down with rain at various times. Don't know why I'm obsessed with rain and weather in games, even on artificial Halo ring worlds. So, will we see an Edge cover with Xbox fucked soon? Boozy the Clown, I've not seen an Edge cover for a long time. So, if is that a reference to a cover that they've already done on something else? Edge covers normally feature at like particular games and stuff, don't they? Chronic, you thought the biomes were meant to come to Infinite. Lots of things were meant to come to Infinite, but Replicant remembers the original cover for Edge. What was it? What was it in reference to? Because I don't remember that one. That one has been lost on me. Barry, that's why he said they should implement their initial Breath of the Wild vision. Yeah, I don't think it particularly worked in anyone's favour, like the knee-jerk changes they made to Halo. That necessarily were for the best. It's weird. They brought in, I'm going to say Jason Statham, which is obviously not correct, Stratum, to fix the game. But probably the best mission in the whole of the game was the one that they demoed before they got him on board. I'm not sure, like, obviously Halo Infinite has quite a messy story behind the scenes. I hope that they haven't like pivoted away from the things that were good about it too hard. But before it launched, they had an infamous Xbox FXXK cover after seeing the specs of the original Xbox. Interesting. As in like the original Xbox. Because that was well spec'd compared to other stuff on the market. GameTM was a great mag. So it's weird actually. I used to have like in magazine days I was mostly on the Sega consoles. And when I look back at it and think I was like reading official Sega magazines and things, it's no wonder they said that every game was brilliant. What a naive pup I was. Fortunately, all of those games did turn out to be brilliant, so it turns out that they weren't lying to me, but they could have been. Will Nintendo preserve our libraries on the Switch too? Flush, it would be madness if they don't, so they're probably not going to. It's a difficult problem for Nintendo to solve, like how they shift generation from Switch to whatever's next. And they would be mad to draw a line and leave the Switch audience behind. Jack said he wants a Switch 2. Yeah, I want a Switch 2. Everybody wants a Switch 2. And it's been such a breakaway success that maybe Nintendo will break from form and shift and keep on that trajectory. But just suspect that they'll add something. It will have a different fundamental like feature. How much do I think it will be? It's like, I don't know, because I don't know what they're going to do with it. Not cheap, because nothing is cheap at the moment, and Nintendo have never been aiming to be that cheap. So you ever sneeze so hard that you fart at the same time and you end up smelling shit while your nose or mouth is covered in buggers? No, Tony, that's never happened to me. I'm going to assume from that question that it has just happened to you. That's gross, and I'm glad you're in a different continent. The official Saturn mag was the last official mag that you read. Yeah, that's the one, Tom. I remember poring over like simple articles about a game that I wanted over and over. Read yours. You sneezed on your tongue many times. You sneezed on your tongue. Sneezed on your tongue. Sneezed on your tongue. I read yours. It didn't make any sense. Did I ever have one of those laughing cow cheese triangles? I'm not sure if I had a laughing cow specifically, but like cream cheese, dairy, all of that kind of stuff. Sure. The other one, I read it. Why is laughing cow cheese triangle relevant in this moment? Have you got one right now? Boozy the Clown asked, oh no, that's a difficult word. Is it bows or is it bows? With context, I could tell you if it's a bow or a bow, but there is no context. There is literally one word. B-O-W-S. Breath of wild shit. That's Tony's situation and scenario. Next question, please. Boozy, I don't know what to do with that. Pete, although you love continuity in consoles, you also just love the way that Nintendo just bust out into new stuff. You hope that they never stop. Yeah. But I don't know, it would be disappointing for me personally if I can't play the Switch library at a nicer resolution. Oh, Tom, little Saturn symbols on the corner of every page. Much the same conditioning as Xbox persuade their influencers to put all over podcasts. Yeah, let's not do the influencers and journalists and lines between them and who can be trusted conversation again. No, let's not cover that right now. It's late. We need to get through these questions so that I can have dinner. If you get a chip in your brain, this is a question from Isla. If you get an Alexa chip in your brain, can you enable notifications? It will make your life 10 times easier. Alexa would only notify me of products being available on Amazon and when they are going to be delivered. I'm not sure how that would help you any, but also no, I will never enable notifications for anything ever. Next question, please. You saw a triangle-shaped building in Age of Empires and it made you think of the taste of that cheese triangle. What a way to play games. Just seeing things and experiencing weird tastes. Good for you. So long as they're always, like, relatively pleasant. Well, I fight you in Pokemon. I mean, yeah, but yeah. Sure. I've never played Pokemon. I don't have a Pokemon. But as soon as I've got one, I will fight you, yes. There's a thing. There's a thing. Next question, why you explain the thing, please? 13 is your Pokemon. Episode 13 is your Pokemon. Oh, Tony, let him go. Let him go. There's a thing online where you can Pokemon battle without playing the rest of the game, but I want to play the rest of the game, like one of them at some point. I think you are the coward here for wanting me to 1v1 it before I have any understanding of the game. Who's cowardly there, eh? Ooh. Next question, please. Just rock, paper, scissors, water. Rock, paper, scissors, fire, water, grass. Yeah. And yeah, you've told me of the myriad, like, Pokemon strategies for the different teams. I know none of them because I only half listened. So, let's face it, I'll probably win. Boozy the Clown has asked, Bows Bows. Gasp, I listened and it was like, without context, I couldn't retain much of it. So, who wins in a paper versus grass? Are there paper type Pokemons? Maybe. Maybe. Who wins is whichever one I control. Most likely. Which game am I looking forward to? Alex, I'm looking forward to Avowed and Hades 2. Like, there'll be other games, but actually I don't know loads of things coming out this year. And Hades 2 is going to do the whole early access thing, so I'm going to skip that and wait till it actually comes out. But Avowed and Hades 2 are high on my list right now. Hellblade 2, I loved Hellblade for what it was, but I'm kind of not looking forward to it. Just because the game's like not fun. I'll play it and I'll respect it, but I'm not looking forward to it in the way that I'm looking forward to Avowed and Hades. YouTube hates questions. Well, it managed to retain a fair few. Has YouTube changed layout for everyone else? No, it's just me sitting over here in my hot spring. Yours has gone weird. Anyway, hopefully still vaguely understandable and not too weird. Am I excited for a May potential PlayStation showcase? Potential doesn't excite me, Alex. I'll be... Oh, my sound's gone to shit. What's happening? Something's broken. Panic. Yes, Alex, I'm looking forward to anything that shows me new games. What's happening? Has the sound gone shit for all of you? Pete, it's not time for bed, it's time for dinner. I've not eaten yet. I need to go and do that. Solar flare, don't worry about it, it's all fine. It's not fine for me, like, Shit's broken for me. I'm hoping that it's coming through reasonably okay for you, so I can say that I'm having chili for dinner. Really, really hot chili, which is why I didn't have it before the show, because I would have been covered in sweat and overly shiny. It was broken for half a second on your end. It's still broken for me. Like, something has gone wrong, but I'll figure it out afterwards. We're at the end anyway. We've done Q&Asa. Who's my biggest fan? Time will tell. Time will tell. It's all okay. I'm glad it's working for you. Something's gone wrong with my audio here. I can hear the Final Fantasy 15 music very broken, but my voice is going through okay then. Been good. For now though, we've reached the end. Tomorrow you can't hear music. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Tomorrow has the Xbox Series podcast. You did win the background game. That's it. That's the end. So thanks everyone for coming through and making these conversations work. And till the next one. So enjoy your games and all the rest of it. Blah.
Asa. Game on Daily. Asa. Game on Daily.